Tonight, the Biden administration negotiating what could be a financial settlement of hundreds of millions of dollars for families who were torn apart. The talks ongoing between the Justice Department and lawyers representing thousands of migrant parents and children who were separated at the U.S. border during the Trump administration. A number of tort cases claiming the families experienced harm when they were forcibly separated. 3 sources familiar with ongoing negotiations tell NBC News that on the table are what for some separated families could be payments of hundreds of thousands of dollars per person in compensation. The Wall Street Journal first reported on Thursday that the Biden administration's in talks to offer significant financial compensation for what the families endured. Sources caution the settlement negotiations aren't final. Former Vice President Mike Pence today lashing out at word of possible compensation for those separated by his administration's policy.
This incomprehensibly stupid idea of passing out up to $500,000 to people whose first act in this country was a violation of our law makes no sense at all.
Under former President Donald Trump's Zero Tolerance Initiative in 2018 and a pilot program in 2017, more than 5,600 kids were separated from their parents after crossing the border both at and in between ports of entry. Many held in cages at the Central Processing Center in McAllen, Texas, as we reported at the time.
People in here are locked up in cages, essentially what look like animal kennels. I don't know any other way to describe it.
Until the policy, crossing the border illegally, a misdemeanor under U.S. law, didn't result in parents who crossed with kids being federally prosecuted and separated from their children. President Biden, as a candidate, was harshly critical of the family separation policy.
It's criminal. It's criminal.
As president-elect, he promised accountability and a thorough investigation of the policy. And once inaugurated, created a task force to reunite the families. Today, more than 1,000 families are estimated to still be separated from each other, according to the White House. In many cases, the parents were deported back to their home countries, while their children remained in the U.S. In May, we spoke with Brian Chavez, the day before he became the first person separated during the Trump administration, reunited by the Biden administration.
It's just a really cruel experience that I just hope no one has to go through.
So far, the task force has been able to reunite around 50 families, with the White House saying many more will take place soon. Lawyers representing families like Brian's hope that's the case, and that the Biden administration agrees to allow deported parents to return to the United States on a permanent basis. The payments under negotiation could go to the separated parents and children, whether they're in the U.S. or Central America. Sources involved in those negotiations worry leaked details of them aren't only creating confusion for families separated, but make them a target of crime as well. Now, those families who have endured so much, again, looking for answers.
Jacob Soboroff joins us now from Los Angeles, and Jacob has done so much reporting on this issue. So I have to ask you, we just heard from the former vice president there, and he threw out that number, $500,000. There's been some reporting about the exact number. I know it's still unclear. But Jacob, how do you put a price tag for the families that have suffered this torture, both the children and the parents?
I think it's almost impossible, Tom, and you used the word torture. That's the exact language that Physicians for Human Rights, the Nobel laureate organization, has called this. American Academy of Pediatrics called it government-sanctioned child abuse. You and I covered this together almost shoulder to shoulder at the time down there in both Brownsville and McAllen, Texas. And what the people close to the victims and those separated will tell you is that there is no price to pay that can right the wrong of the family separation policy. And that is why there is so much caution that the fact that these negotiations are not final and that there are consequences to the negotiations even leaking out right now.
So what's been the reaction from the families and those NGOs who have been working with these parents to sort of reunite them with their children?
I think it's mixed, Tom. I think that there's cautious optimism that perhaps these families could be compensated for something that, they say no human being should ever have to go through. But there's also great fear in their home countries in Central America that this could make them, the announcement, the target of potential crime. And also the fact that this may not happen at all. And that's getting the hopes up of people who have been through just really what is truly an unspeakable tragedy.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.